Hey, and welcome everyone. Welcome to this first ever edition of the DevSecCon community course. The idea today is to bring everyone from the DevSecCon community together and discuss a topic specifically related to application security. And today we are going to discuss how to get started in DevSecOps. We're super excited to kick this off with you, and hopefully we'll have a great time together. We'll cover a bunch of topics and answer your questions. Speaking about that, we prepared in advance a couple of items that we want to discuss with our panelists, but we definitely want to keep the stream as interactive as possible and open for any questions or comments from the audience. So please feel free to drop your thoughts or questions in the chat and we'll be sure to answer them. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about the DevSecOps community. And I actually have a banner that I wanted to pull here. Good. DevSecOps is one of the world's leading DevSecOps community. It's powered by Snyk, the developer security platform. We're strong of 28 local chapters worldwide, and you can join local meetups over there. And we also have one community Discord server where you can hang out, chat, ask questions, post job openings, and above all, learn and share best practices. So if you'd like to join, please head over to snyk.io/community and we'll take it from there. So today I will be joined by 3 panelists. All of them are cybersecurity experts. They are here to share their knowledge, their insights, and I think it's important, their personal journey too. But more on that later. First of all, let's dig a little bit about, into the topic in itself, how to get started in DevSecOps. This is probably one of the most commonly asked questions I've come across those last month. DevSecOps is the natural evolution of DevOps, and what it does essentially is to bring security within your SDLC as a core component of your workflows. Now, there are various ways of doing this. We've all heard about concepts such as shift left, SAST, DAST, runtime security. Some of this might be crystal clear for you, some of this might not. And some of you might be a little bit unclear on where to start, what to cover, etc. So we're here to understand it all, cover the basics, and more importantly, help you folks get started in your DevSecOps journey. So here's a quick overview of the topics we'll be covering today. What is DevSecOps after all? And spoiler alert, it's not a job function. How the panelists started their personal journeys, what are the learning paths, and how to gain hands-on experience, how to build the right culture around security in your organization, and maybe also how gamification can help. And last but not least, maybe cover some of the challenges and opportunities AI is now bringing to the table. But again, we definitely want to keep all of this as interactive as possible and open for any questions from the audience. So feel free to drop your thoughts or questions in the chat right now, and we'll be sure to answer them. Good. So today I'm joined by 3 panelists, and I'm adding them to the stream. Hello, everyone. Those are 3 experts in cybersecurity, actually. So let me introduce them all. Joining us from Toronto, meet Vladimir Mikalev, widely known as Valdemar. Valdemar is a DevOps maestro with over 2 decades of experience in the IT sector, including impactful roles at IBM, Thales, and Amazon. Valdemar is a recognized Docker captain, as you can see from his background, and a Snyk ambassador. You're also an influential voice in the DevSecOps community, where you dedicate your time to answering complex security questions. You're an author, a content creator, and you regularly share insightful videos on your personal blog, where you focus more on the nuances of Docker and container technology. Valdemar, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Is this all correct?
Yeah, that's all correct. Thank you, Gerald. Thank you so much for this nice entertainment. And yeah, I'm glad that I joined, and I was working before in big and small companies, IBM, Amazon, Thales, So happy to be here. And I started when I was 16, so I have about 20 years of experience already. So you can count how old I am. And
yeah, you don't look like you're
yeah.
you're that old. Lucky you. Good. Next up is Sonia. Sonia Moise. Hey, Sonia. I've had a hard time working on our bio, Sonia. Where to start? You're a staff security advocate at SNCC. You're a traveler. You lived everywhere in the Middle East, North Africa, Asia. Currently, you're based in the UK, and you're joining us from London. Among other distinctions, you're a 4X GitHub star, an Open UK Security Advisor board member, and you're 5X top contributor on Free Code Camp. Your day-to-day job includes public speaking about cybersecurity, building and hosting awesome workshops and training on cybersecurity, publishing technical pieces of content about cybersecurity, and of course, doing research on cybersecurity. Did I forget anything?
No, that's a great sum up. Thank you, Gerald. I was also a former SNCC ambassador.
Yes, you were indeed. Yes, you were indeed. Yeah. That's kind of join the club here. Join the club.
No, I'm really happy to join you all today, just to give back to the community, because I'm entirely self-taught, so have a few tips to on that. Creating content for the community. I've been also a room creator on TryHackMe, but we'll talk about that later on.
Okay.
Real
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining, Sonia. Definitely good to have you here on board. And last but not least comes Hung No. Welcome, Hung. I've known you for just a couple of years, but I'm impressed by how you've grown into such a fantastic expert in such a short period of time. You're a cybersecurity specialist by trade. You're one of the co-organizers of Besides Prague conference. You're a public speaker and a lecturer. And you're also a SNCC ambassador, by the way, very much involved in the education of the DevSecOn community. But I really like about your bio, by the way, is that you're rooting for women in cybersecurity and women in tech in general, which is why you're lecturing courses at Chiquitas. Please correct me if I don't pronounce it correctly. I don't want to butcher that. Chiquitas. It's a Czech non-profit helping women to get into the tech world. Is that right?
Yeah, it's correct. Gerald, you are making me blush, actually. I'm really grateful that I get the opportunity to be here today, because about 2 years ago, I was also a member of the DevSecOn community. So in case any one of you guys in the audience is or wants to be a member of the community, just 2 years, be active, and one day you can spontaneously appear on the show together with Gerald. Looking really forward to this event.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Hung. I see already a bunch of questions from the audience piling up. That's so cool. And folks will all get discovered, how to land your first jobs, how to do what's your roadmap, how to get experience, etc. So we'll definitely cover this all. So this is fantastic. Let's get this started. And maybe first thing first, I would love for us to define what we are talking about. So maybe a first question for you, Sonia. How would you define DevSecOps? Can you maybe explain what are the core principles of it?
Sure. So DevSecOps is methodology integrating security within DevOps workflows. This is just to ensure that security is an active and continuous part of the software development lifecycle. So let's say instead of treating security as a final checkpoint before release, DevSecOps will embed security from the start. So this is making it more proactive. We're also covering automation and also scalable. So it shifts security from a blocker to an enabler. So this is really important. Like security shouldn't be a blocker. And this is also allowing the teams in an organization to deliver secure software quickly. So if we're talking about core principles of DevSecOps, I can cover 4 pillars or stages. So the first one would be security as code. So this would mean that you would embed security controls and policies and testing them directly into your CI/CD pipeline, so continuous integration, continuous deployment. And this would enforce security at every stage. Second one would be shift left. You've been mentioning shift left. So this is moving security earlier in the development process. So you would catch vulnerabilities and fix them before deployment. Third one would be automation and tooling. This is really important, and we'll cover this more in details after with different questions. But this is basically to leverage security tools. So that would be SCA, SAS, DAS, all those great acronyms that you've all heard of. This is to reduce manual efforts and to provide fast feedback to developers. I will also mention collaboration and shared responsibility. That's a big one also. So developers, security teams, and operations, they all work together to make security a seamless part of development rather than an external function. And lastly, also because this is part of DevSecOps, continuous monitoring and feedback. This is more around using observability, logging, telemetry, runtime security to detect and respond to threats in real time. And this is even after deployment as well.
Oh, I really love how you put all of this together, Sonia. I love the part about, becoming an enabler instead of a blocker. I think this is, you certainly hit the nail on the head here, because from past experience and, the many discussions we've had with engineering teams and security practitioners, security feels like a chore sometimes. And today we'll also cover how to basically help raise awareness and set up the right culture in the team so that, everyone gets to work together through all of the, the pillars that you mentioned, like automation and, security as code and things like that, and processes. And also that's definitely a great intro. Thank you so much for sharing. Moving on to maybe a more personal part of the conversation, I see a bunch of questions in the chat about, how to land your first job, how to get your internship, and, things like that. So I think it's interesting for you folks to share how you got started. So how about you share a bit about your personal journeys? Hung, would you like to go first, maybe?
Yeah,
I would love to. I would love to hear about, how you got started, and maybe also what were your motivations at the time. Why did you want to do this job? How did you learn? And by the way, Sonia and Valdemar, feel free to chip in here. We are all here to share, right?
I'm also looking forward to hear more about Vladimir's and Sonia's past and how they got into the field. Well, I've originally used to be a software developer, so I've started at the first part of the DevSecOps. But after building stuff for a long time, don't take me wrong, I really enjoy that. I have noticed that I want to do something different. And as you can probably see from my awesome virtual background, I am a lifelong gamer, and I do enjoy World of Warcraft. And one of my favorite classes that I play is a protection paladin. He's a bulwark of a group, and he's helping the group of the adventurers to get to the final boss and to overcome it and to reach the reward. So I wanted to do that in my real life as well, to protect others and to protect the systems that I was building. So I've decided to start learning. I have actually joined the community. The DevSecCon community actually wasn't the first one that I have joined, but in that community I have grown. I have met some amazing people. I have joined some small initiatives such as a book club, through which I have met some mentors, and mentors are really important, especially at the beginning of your career, because within cybersecurity I was a novice, and I still do consider myself much more junior than both Vladimir and Sonia, actually. And after some time, I've landed my first internship, and they've accepted me because I showed them that I care about the stuff. I did some free certifications. We can even talk about that later if you want. And from that, I have started my career, and after some time, I've landed a full-time job working as a cybersecurity specialist. So that was actually my journey. Now I'm more in the security part of the DevSecOps, actually, and I care a lot about logging, about detections, about finding anomalies, both in the systems and in the applications as well.
Good. Wow, that's a fantastic journey. Thanks a lot for sharing. Just maybe out of curiosity. So you said that after some time, after a couple of certifications, you landed your first job. Did the certifications help you a lot, to find the first job? And I mean, when you apply for a job, how do you prove you have the right, the skills and all?
Considering that most of these certifications were free, meaning that a bunch of other people were able to get them, they didn't help me that much, but they helped me to get into the interview because I was able to show that I care about the stuff and I wanted to do something in my free time, meaning doing the certifications. And that way I was able to show the potential employer that I wanted to learn. And that got me into the interview. And after that, they decided to hire me.
Love it. Showing great initiative, goodwill. It works. Definitely works. Sonia, Valdemar, would you like to share your experience too, maybe?
Yeah, of course. I play World of Warcraft as a Holy Paladin. So, yeah, and in this case, it's really challenging sometimes when there is a bad protection Paladin, or we call them tanks, actually. So, yeah, and this is if the tank is bad, so you don't want to heal him, and the group is down actually. So even though they think that the game is in their hands, these paladins, it's on the healer shoulder anyway. But anyway, so if you can see from my background, I'm the hardcore gamer. I have collection of some rare editions and rare PlayStations and so on and so forth. So, but of course some Docker merch that they're sending me, so to keep me alive. So they sending me some outfits and hats and so on and so forth, so I can go outside for a coffee. Well, I started my career when I was 16, and I started as sysadmin, and then I was just trying to grow up, and my motivation was to get some money. But when I was really a student, all our other students were asking me to come to their houses and install some games and so on and so forth, because they couldn't figure out how to do that, even though it's setup.exe and next finish. So, and of course, I was like a kind of geek one, and the ladies were happy if I was installing things on their computers, reinstalling Windows, and yeah, at that point I realized, yeah, I'm probably must follow this IT career path, and yeah, I'm pretty happy to be here, because this allows me to buy more games, invest in useless stuff, so and so on and so forth. So, but I was happy to work with colleagues from Amazon, in IBM, and some other big and small companies. So actually I'm currently working at Atacama Corporation, which is my 12th company. So I saw a lot of different infrastructures and so on and so forth. So I have lots of experience. And yeah, I'm currently focusing on security as well, because this is a pain point, as we all know, especially when AI era came. So, some people are pretending that they're like AI, and some AI is pretending that they're people. So now it's really hard to distinguish. So yeah, but that's a short introduction maybe.
Thank you so much for sharing, Vladimir. I mean, the short of it is you have to play World of Warcraft to get started in cybersecurity, right?
Yeah. We will come to that when we will be discussing some I don't know, best practices, checklist, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, you have to be a gamer. So yeah.
I love it. I see questions in the chat about what are the right certifications, what should I study, things like that. So we'll definitely get this covered into the during the show, maybe in the next question, actually. But maybe before moving over to that, Sonia, you mentioned that you were self-taught. I was wondering if you would be able to share a little bit about this experience as well. And maybe, I mean, Hung mentioned how he got mentors from the community. Did you go through this kind of path, or did you have a totally different experience yourself?
So, I'm not going to break the rule, but I'm also a hardcore gamer. Sorry, pretty early.
See?
I have 35 years on my belt, so yeah. have to join the wagon. But yeah, jokes aside, yeah. So I started with video games because of my mom. She put me in front of a computer, so I got that way from early age. Always being coding and doing programming. But I've never thought of programming as a career path. So I don't have like a linear path progression like a CS degree or that. I actually did a business school, but when I was based in South Korea 15 years ago, the company I was working with actually asked me to create their website and maintain them and secure them. And because I've been coding on the sides, I thought, yeah, why not just like doing this on the side? And I actually thought to myself, well, actually, you can actually earn money doing that, and it's actually my passion. So I've decided to shift completely to the tech industry. And how did I move to the cyber industry? In one of my previous positions, I was actually sitting next to the security team, and I was bugging them with a lot of questions. I've always been interested in my security, but I didn't have like a path or a learning path of that. So I was asking them questions and on the tools, on the processes and everything. I don't know if they got fed up with that, but they actually asked me to join as a security champion, so bridging developers and security team. And because I was really passionate at just still asking questions and processes, they actually asked me to join the team. But if you're asking me how did I learn, so there are a few things. As I mentioned, I was like self-learned, so going through online courses, blog posts, security communities. I've also been engaging with the community, so attending conferences, meetups, just to network and learn more about what is going on in the market. So there's a lot of efforts put in the background, like learning new things and always trying to stand on the stay up on the trends, and always apply that knowledge in practice, because it's good to follow the tutorials, to have a lot of theory, but it's even better if you have like hands-on practice and just to put your knowledge in practice in general.
Okay, fantastic. That's actually a fantastic segue to the next section of what we are going to discuss here. Just wanted to, display this question for Julieta, from Julieta in the chat here. We keep talking about, the DevSecOps journey, right? And as we all know, learning is probably one of the very first steps that you have to take as an individual when you start this journey. There are contests, websites, podcasts, trainings out there in the wild, right? Whenever people ask me where do I learn, I personally tend to recommend them to join, learn.snyk.io, because that's such a fantastic hub of resources that Snyk put together for developer security training. There's a bunch of lessons, training path, etc. But I guess my questions for you folks would be, what are the best places for developers or maybe junior security professionals where they can learn about AppSec? And are there some precise learning path that we would recommend? Is there a logical progression? Because sometimes you learn about something and what's the next step? How do I progress from this point to the next one? What would you recommend? In terms of learning. Sonia, do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, sure. So I can share with you a few free resources, because I know there's a lot of behind a paywall. But if we're talking about free resources, we can mention all the online courses and platforms. So the OWASP organization is a good one to start. There's a lot of guides and best practices. It's really great resources, not only on DevSecOps, but all cybersecurity topics. You can also have a look at Udemy, Pluralsight, and Coursera, because you can audit the courses, and sometimes they're doing some free courses on cybersecurity, AppSec, DevSecOps. Also platforms, if you want something more hands-on, labs platforms like Hack the Box, Try Hack Me. Also check the Snyk rooms on Try Hack Me. That's also a good one. Also the Portswigger Web Security Academy. They also do have really interesting courses if you want more to focus on everything around ethical hacking, pen testing, if you want to have that specifications. And also if you want something a little bit more hands-on, you can download the OWASP Juice Shop. This will provide a real-world scenario. You have e-commerce, an online shop that you can test. But I would say, because we're talking about learning path, we're talking about really like theoretical things. So let me say that. So start with fundamentals. So you can learn about the OWASP Top 10 secure coding principles and common vulnerability. But when you need, and also I think some of the question is because you want to potentially looking for your first job. So it's something to showcase to your hiring manager or the recruiter. So first would be, if you're following tutorials, for example, build a CRUD application. So that's great. Finish your tutorials, you have an application. And if we're talking about DevSecOps, you can go on GitHub. So host your projects on GitHub and go to the marketplace. So on the marketplace, you will find a lot of tools that you can actually implement to have that pipeline. So you'd have tools around, not only around security, but if you want to do around CI/CD development, so you can implement Circle CI, for example, and this will showcase your ability to implement tools, and you'll have something on the, to showcase to the hiring manager. So you'll have to implement tools like Circle CI, Jenkins, or whatever you'll be using for a CI/CD pipeline. On security side, you can start implementing software composition analysis. So you can use Snyk, you can use Dependabot, you can use other tools. You can implement tools around SAST. You can containerize your CRUD application and then implement a security tool to scan that. So create your basic, your dummy CI/CD pipeline, and then you'll have something to actually showcase to the recruiter. And the good thing also, you can write a blog post to have a companion blog post on that. This is to showcase that you actually know, not only following the tutorial, but also really implements tools and create that pipeline. And then you can walk through the tools. So if you have implemented 2 or 3 security tools, you can compare pros and cons, why you're liking this one more than another, because of your tech stack or because of your pipeline, because of the integration. And you can also add the GitHub project. So you have those little cards like a Jira board or a Notion board, and also raise some issues and follow up on the on your projects. You can also try ChatUp, so you can link it to Slack. So you can create a free Slack account that you can have that connection just to showcase, and you have all of that technical implementation. Even if it's not a scale of an organization, you actually showcasing those implementation using those different tools. So you can do a tutorial. And then you can implement your DevSecOps pipeline and write on blog posts, share it on your LinkedIn profile, and then you can start creating your brand and expertise on that. That would be my steps.
Good. Thanks.
Wow,
Thanks.
I have to go do that now, right?
Yeah. Just a side note here. I wanted to show this comment from Shubham here, talking about the Phoenix project. How close is this book to the real world problem? It's probably more focused on the DevOps world, though we are definitely talking about DevSecOps here. The reason why I wanted to mention that is because it reminds me of another book by Tanya Janka. Tanya is a very famous person in the DevSecOps world. And she wrote this book called Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. Alice and Bob Learn Application Security, and gives you the essentials of application security in a very nice way. It's very easy to read, and you will learn a ton of things from that.
By the way, she already released a new book, Alice and Bob Learn Secure Coding. I have it pre-ordered, so in case any of you are looking for a new book, that one is really good.
Yeah, I have it in my toilet, so...
Okay, Hung and Vladimir, back to training path and certifications. Would you have any recommendations to share?
Yeah, if I may. So, like, I have my own recommendation list. Sonia's was the best, so I have to like mix it a little bit with my really not just formal things. Hey guys, learn some stuff, this or that, but really you have to know how to focus. So first advice would be stop scrolling, stop doing your reels, stop doing your YouTube shorts, TikTok, whatever, because this is cause you lose of focus. And you can search some studies. These short videos will not allow you to learn much things. You have to adapt to the mature stuff and learn things from some long boring videos, most of all coming from India. But first of all, Coursera, and I dropped a link in the chat, they have a nice security course. So it's led by Google security analysts and their director. So I would really recommend this one as a starting point. Then you have to learn some basic programming, maybe not to program much, but just to know how it works. And you can read the code, Go or Python, maybe Python in this case will be more interesting. Then you have to know how networking is working, OSI model. You can search on Google how to do SQL injections, so how to protect databases and so on and so forth. So CI/CD pipelines, GitHub, GitLab. To be honest, people are moving mostly to GitHub Actions now from GitLab. I'm sorry for GitLab, even though it's a great tool. Jenkins, it's too big, and again, people in the real life, they are moving to GitHub Actions. So I would just recommend to learn GitHub Actions, and as Sonia mentioned, Dependbot and other things and security features that they have. And of course, Treevy and Snyk, these are tools that I would recommend to learn, because there are tons of tools and we're exhausted with lots of tools and they are coming every day, so you don't have to learn everything, and you cannot afford it, and you have to follow the trend. So today it's one thing, tomorrow it's another thing, so you always have to be circled with the people that are passionate about DevOps, DevSecOps, and IT in general. So you have to join communities, maybe DevSecOps community, maybe other communities. I will not advertise mine, right? But you have to be with these people. You have to ask them. You have to read what's happening, and you have to follow the trends, so you can actually follow the market and you can get your job, so you can drink coffee. Kubernetes basics, of course, but I would start with Docker Swarm. To be honest, it's very similar to Docker Compose. So it's like the same syntaxes with additional features and so on and so forth. So Kubernetes is too much for you to start. Start with Docker Compose and Docker Swarm then. And monitoring, of course, you have to monitor your stuff, and you have to learn how to do that, how to check logs, because lots of people, they asking questions, and even in our community, but they first need to check logs, right? And that's what we are pointing, hey guys, have you checked logs? And people, no, how we can do so. So we have to know how to check logs, how to monitor your systems and infrastructure. And you have to monitor things that are really affecting business, not just CPU. If CPU is not the case, then you shouldn't monitor it, right? Whatever. But yeah, just a brief highlight, because we don't have much time, but I tried to cover. And of course, you have to play World of Warcraft and other games.
Okay. Thanks a lot for sharing, Vladimir. Okay, Hung, I see that you got the chat question covered with the name of the book that you pre-ordered. Thank you so much for that. Let's move on to a new topic, and still sticking to basics. I'd like us to cover some of the essentials of DevSecOps. Let's say, but I mean as in implementing it, not as in learning it. So let's say I'm a team, or I'm a practitioner, and I'm looking to do a first-time implementation of DevSecOps. And implement the core principles and the key best practices in my projects. Are there some basics that need to be covered first? I mean, there's an endless to-do list, in this field. So what should you make sure you check off the list first, of the to-do list? What should I begin with? Automation? Should I begin with, static code analysis? Where do I begin? What are the key couple of things that I need to be sure I cover when I implement DevSecOps, in my projects? So would you do us the honors again on this one?
Sure. So I would say the first thing that you need to check within your company is make sure that you have security awareness and security culture. This is really important, because otherwise you won't be able to implement any tools in this regard. So you need to make sure that you foster a security first mindset, where the developers, operation, and security teams share responsibility. And you would invest in security training tailored for engineers. So by that, I mean the security training that makes sense for your engineer, for your company. So it's not only just covering OS top 10, but what are the top 3 or top 5 vulnerabilities that you're finding in your vulnerability management. Then you can customize or tailor your security training. So that's the first thing. Once you've done that and you have a security culture, what you can do is sit down with one of your dev teams, and as a security team or developer, you have this little group. And if you're thinking about implementing a security tool, just make sure to involve your developers, because they'll be the one using the tool at the end of the day. So you want a tool that makes sense for them to use. So you can start with one team and with one specific tool. So let's say software composition analysis. This will allow you to flag risk in third-party dependencies. So it will check your components. So depending on your programming languages, it will scan for your POM XML, your requirement.txt, your package.json, whatever programming language you're using. So you're starting with one tool, you're starting with one team, because potentially that team is more lean to have security awareness or that security culture. And then you do the trial of the tool, of the vendor with them, and you'll see the pros and cons. You'll see the feedback for the developer in terms of integration within your CI/CD pipeline, your ticketing system, chat ops, and all of these elements. Once you've done that, if it's a successful implementation, this actually you can bring it to Lunch and Learn. You can bring it to Town Hall or your engineering forum, and you'll have and the developer will demo that success story, and then you can implement it to other teams, and you can also implement other tools. But I would say start small. With a specific team and specific tool, which makes sense for your company. So if you want to start with software composition analysis, because it makes sense to check the packages, or you can do SAS just to scan your code, and one specific team. Just start small, make it sure that it's successful, and then you have something to demo for the wider organization. And you will have everyone aligned, the security team and the developer team aligned.
Good. Thank you for sharing, Sonia.
One more thing, also make it like security is fun. So yeah, make it fun. Make it fun. Also, really important.
Yeah. We'll definitely talk more about that a little bit later. Since you touch on culture, I think it's important to talk more about culture and making security fun and attractive for everyone. Just getting back to the basics of implementation. So people are always asking about what's the right tooling, but you did mention some of that in your comments, Sonia. I was just wondering if maybe you had anything else in mind, or did she cover, or did Sonia cover all of the things you also would have mentioned?
Actually, Sonia did such a great job covering everything that I'm speechless, which is not happening usually. So props to you.
Love it. Okay.
Well, yeah, I can add a few things. Like,
Sure.
yeah, as a Docker captain, I want to say that you have to learn Docker. But actually, like, it's industry standard, right? So just learn Docker, because when you will be interviewed, of course they will ask, do you know how to build images? Do you know how to work with Docker Compose? Do you know how to do Docker build, and so on and so forth? So, and they do have like lots of other features under the hood, like Docker Compose, which is like allowing you to test things on the fly. And Docker Swarm is not under Docker anymore; it's under Mirantis. So even though it still has this Docker word, but it's not. So this is something that can replace Kubernetes in the way when you are learning. So it will be easier for you to jump in. And of course, my favorite tools for scanning, in CI/CD pipelines is Trivi and Snyk. So these are great tools, even though there are more of them, but these are most popular. And again, if you want to join the market and quickly find a job, especially if you're new in DevSecOps, these tools will be easy to learn and easy to implement. There are others, like some enterprise solutions here and there, but these are unique to different companies. So if you want to learn the broad things, you can learn Snyk. Same as with, you better learn AWS instead of Azure, because it's just more popular, right? Yeah. So in this case, and of course, Terraform and Ansible. So if you are managing your infrastructure, you have to know these tools. Of course, as Sonia mentioned, there is Puppet and Chef as well, but I prefer Ansible. With Terraform, of course, you have to know how to scan your files and so on and so forth. So again, Snyk and Trivi will come handy here. So all these tools, you need to know how to combine them. And this is not something really hard. It's just about learning a few tools, and you can jump into the DevSecOps or DevOps, whatever, and get some nice salary and get some rare PlayStation Last of Us edition here. as I do. It's very hard to get, actually. So yeah.
Also, I wanted to jump on that. Also, if we're talking
Sure.
about the organization scope, two things also to keep in mind. So, coming back to the tools, I would say rather than just naming tools, it would depend on the organization. So, what makes sense within the context of an organization? What is your tech stack? What are your integration points? Because you can like one vendor, but actually doesn't integrate well with GitHub Actions or Jenkins or Circle CI or others. So this is really important. That's why you need to sit down with your developers to understand all of the integration in their workflow. But coming back to the two things, there's also the costs, because we're not talking about the cost, but cost is also a big one because we're talking about vendors. It has to align to the business goals, because as we've mentioned, it should be an enabler. So you should go for tools that will actually enable the business at the end of the day. So also, this is two things in the context of an organization, which are really important usually.
Thanks for complimenting, Sonia. I just wanted to show this question here from Abdul Malik. I'm not exactly sure how you meant that, by the way, Abdul Malik, but how can you implement DevSecOps in traditional security teams? Like, my question for you folks in the panel would be, is there some possible opposition between, or some possible, conflict between traditional security teams and implementing DevSecOps, like security teams not being, okay with implementing DevSecOps? Is this something that you've come across, or is this more like a welcome evolution for everyone? Are there any specific elements that would prevent traditional security teams to implement DevSecOps, to your knowledge?
Well, I can take this one if you don't mind. So actually, we were struggling because security team in our company, they were always pushing some, like security features that people doesn't really like, or even IT team. So, and then when we started to like merge our teams together, like security team and IT team together, when we started to go to the bars and so on and so forth, that changed the situation. So now we have like, same channel. We have like people jumping in, helping in different areas. So security team can jump in and ask some questions regarding IT, and people will jump in and answer some of these questions. So like the people, the culture, it was built, but it took some time, like years. And this is something that people must focus on, like do more informal stuff together, get to know each other, and understand what business needs are, right? Where they can improve it, where are the bottleneck, and so on and so forth. So, but first it comes to the people, right? So you have to know how to interact with people, and you have to like really be close to each other and understand each other weaknesses and strong and so on. So yeah, I would.
Okay. Now, I mean, it makes a ton of sense. It's all about teams working together and basically improving communication and common workflows among teams, which actually is a great segue to the next topic. I'd like for us to talk a bit more about culture. We hear a lot that security doesn't have to be a chore, right? That can be fun. And it's true that there's a ton of ways to raise awareness on the core principles of DevSecOps and application security among the developers or among the engineering teams in general, right? Hung, I know you've gained a bunch of experience in this field. Maybe you'd have some good initiatives that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, sure. Actually, Sonia already mentioned one of the initiatives, which I have experienced many times, which is basically a security champions. These are the representatives from the engineering teams usually, who are who got exposed to this security, and they can then spread the security and support it in their respective teams. Also, Vladimir mentioned that a lot of the times you have to understand the opposite side, for example, because within the traditional security teams were a lot of times viewed as enemies, actually, as somebody who was restricting the company. Let's face it, the best secured company is the company that's cut out of the internet. But unfortunately, when you don't have internet, you cannot do business nowadays. So you have to talk to the people at the other side. What I have been doing a lot in the past couple of years was training, and a lot of the times I was doing training for the development teams, actually. And actually, like a half year ago, I got really deep into something called threat modeling, which I believe it's an important part of the DevSecOps, actually, and of I can even see it as a question within the chat. Threat modeling is really important. It's about thinking about the threats that can affect our systems, about the risks associated with these threats, and also coming up with the mitigations to lower the threats. And a lot of the times I'm doing these sessions with the developers, and the way how I'm doing them is by leveraging these cards or by playing card games, because as you have seen, that's an elevation of privilege and OWASP cornucopia. I can talk about them later. You can even order them online. As you have seen, we are all gamers over here, and it turned out that developers are actually gamers as well. And a lot of the times it's easier to communicate with them using games. And one of the largest obstacles which I'm usually facing when I'm doing threat modeling is that the first rule that they've told you is like, okay, so you have to think like an attacker. And that's a really good thing to do if you are a developer, because developers are the ones who are building the systems. They know where the weak points are. They know where people cut corners, but they are not trained and not built to think like an attacker. So if you are telling them this rule, you are basically screwing them up. And the way how they can learn about how an attacker think is by leveraging, for example, this gamified threat modeling, because the cards themselves then contain threats. They can read the cards, they can discuss them, and they can think of whether the threats are present within their system and how they can potentially mitigate them. So this way they are exposed to the threats, and they can do and be involved within threat modeling. And for example, after a session or two, we usually come up with a pretty good threat model, and the developers get their task into the Jira system, and we can fix the system. And by leveraging the gamified experience, it's a lot of fun. Actually, if you look online, there are even online games or online demos where you can play this game. And when there was a COVID, we have also tried them. If you want, I can paste a link into the chat. And of course, Sonia, Vladimir, if you have any points on that or want to share your experience, please go on.
I actually wanted to do a shameless plug here. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for sharing, Hung. As you said, gamification is key here. Catch the flag events or competitions are a great way to raise awareness and to have developers think like attackers and train developers to think like attackers, and it's fun, and it's a competition with leaderboard and all. I just wanted to give a heads up that Snyk is going to host soon their annual Fetch the Flag event. This is going to be in collaboration with John Hammond. You can access it from the link I'm posting here. John Hammond is a fantastic speaker, a very famous person in the DevSecOps multiverse here. And obviously, we're thrilled to welcome him as a co-host for this event. There will be like 20 challenges to be solved, fantastic prizes for the winners. Every participant will be able to join the DevSecCon Discord server, by the way. They can hang out, chat, ask questions to John Hammond and his team, and it's going to be super cool. So if you'd like to register to this event, it's here, snyk.io/events/CTF. But yeah, more generally speaking, yeah, catch the flag events are always a good opportunity to actually get developers to learn more about security and learn more to think like attackers.
And then become attackers, right?
Maybe
So
why
we
not?
have a job.
No, I mean, if you we sometimes schedule. I mean, Sonia, you've hosted such sessions in the past. We sometimes schedule sessions about ethical hacking for people in our community as well. Ethical hacking sessions have a ton of success. There's usually they're all a ton of people register to the session because they want to learn how to think like an attacker. They want to learn how to hack an application, where to look, how to get started. That's the red team experience, right? It's always red versus blue teams, but that's always a good way of raising awareness. Okay, we're almost at the top of the hour already, and I would like to open up to maybe a more prospective question here for everyone. So we all know how the AI wave has hit the world of software so powerfully, and how it has changed the way we now write code, right? And when we talk with tech security practitioners, what they tell us is that developers ship code now way faster than what they used to do. And sometimes it's hard for them to keep up, which actually ties back into the topic of automation, I'm just wondering how you folks see the impact of AI in the DevSecOps field. Does AI-generated code provide specific challenges? And maybe on a more positive note, do you see any interesting solutions to increasing security that would be brought by AI? Valdemar, would you like to go first on this one?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, one of the tools actually that you have to know how to work with, it's AI tool, right? It could be ChatGPT, it could be anything else, but you should know how to use this feature. And this is a feature, not something that will replace you, because this is something that will help you to be more productive. So Photoshop, they do have some features to improve the quality of the picture and so on and so forth, replace background. Same with other tools, Kubernetes luckily will get some tool which will help you to analyze like failing pods and so on and so forth. So you shouldn't be scared by AI. You should know how to use AI, and these people will be replaced that don't know how to work with it, right? So this is the first thing. And regarding the AI and its features, and some dangerous things are that it can be used for some bad things, right? So some code can be generated to actually harm some systems, or you can trust it and you might think, okay, this thing is smarter than I am, so I will just copy paste this code, and you will copy paste some code that AI or whatever machine learning were using to teach itself, but it was a harmful code. It was something like with vulnerabilities and so on and so forth. So you have to be careful, and as you wouldn't trust to the stranger at the street, you shouldn't trust AI completely. You should use your analysis, you should use your engineering skills to actually, you have to actually think to make it safe for you and your company. And yeah, just some kind of critical thinking should be involved. So yeah, like GitHub Copilot can improve your code, but still it has some cases when it generates some bad snippets, right? So and you shouldn't use them, but people, they just copy paste in the code from each other. Or another problem is that AI, it's learning from the internet, right? So and nowadays we have more and more code generated by AI on the internet, right? So it's learning from itself actually, right? And more like strange code appears. So this is something that you have to keep in mind, that you have to really think before you are copying a code, or before you're getting some knowledge from it, right? Because it's something that you cannot trust for 100%.
Sure, makes some sense. So yeah. I was just about to ask you about your thoughts. I would just like you to maybe also keep this in mind. We have a bunch of questions about, CI/CD integration. Basically, I think this all ties into the world of automation, automating checks and stuff like that as well. Don't you think so?
Yeah, so just to also kind of to echo what you said, Vladimir, is now in the cybersecurity, like adding AI tools, this is actually increasing the attack surface. So if we're talking about supply chain, this is another part of supply chain attack elements, because we're adding an element of AI within, for example, our IDE if we're using Gen AI powered tools. So let's say Copilot, Cursor, and others. But also all the tools that we might be using in the pipeline that might be powered by AI as well. So the attack surface is actually increasing in that sense. Also, as you mentioned, Vladimir, it's really important if you're using Gen AI tools like Copilots and others, make sure to have security tool within your pipeline just to catch the vulnerabilities. So regardless of the Gen AI tools that you're using, you should have Copilot. This is also regardless of if this is coming from Stack Overflow, your developers, AI tools, you should always have security tools to actually catch vulnerabilities. And you also need two things. I'll just quickly, so we can answer the other questions. Awareness on how AI works and large language models, and just having that awareness of what is going on in the ecosystem of AI, just having even basic understanding of how those models are trained and why we're having that level of quality or great quality for the outputs that the code is generated. And the second thing is also the importance of prompt engineering. I did a quick experiment with create like a basic Express application, and I'm getting by default a simple Express application without any security elements. So there, this snippet of code was vulnerable to cross scripting. But actually, if I add one word, so the word secure in the prompt, the output was completely different. So this is also putting responsibility on the developer, obviously, to craft better prompts, unfortunately, but it's something to keep in mind. And this goes back to awareness and how we can leverage those tools by making and using more strong and robust prompts as well. But if you have one thing to remember, if you're using Gen AI, that's great, but don't forget to have a security tool in your pipeline just to catch vulnerabilities.
I love it. That's a great conclusion. I mean, yeah, software has eaten up the world, and now AI is eating up software. So we have to learn how to work with that and how to leverage all of the benefits and yet keep it secure. So definitely, yeah, super useful. Thank you so much. Folks, that's actually a wrap. We're already at the end of our show. Time flies. Time flies so fast. I'd like to thank very warmly all of our panelists. Sonia, thank you so much. Waldemar, thank you very much for joining. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with the DevSecOn community members. And obviously, thank you everyone in the audience who watched this as well. I hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. I hope you learned interesting things on the way. Obviously, we were not able to answer all of the questions in the chat. There were a lot of questions, and I'm sorry about that. But please, if you'd like to learn more with us, don't forget to join the DevSecCon community. That's from this link, snake.io/community. If you head over to this page, we'll take you to the DevSecCon server where you can ask all of the questions you want, and then Waldemar and Sonia can spend their nights answering you. There are plenty of other experts over there who will help you and guide you and answer your questions as well. So feel free to join this Discord community server. We're more than happy to welcome you all and keep the discussion going over there. So thanks again, everyone. It was fantastic. I can't wait for our next event. And in the meantime, take care of yourself. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.